friends. Welcome to my very first episode of my new podcast, Soft Faith. I'm Celine, and I'm so happy that you're here. Um, just a little intro of myself. I'm a current student at DeSales University, and I'm a Catholic. And I've had my journey in my faith has been everywhere-ish, if you will. I've looked into many things. I've done a lot of research and, been to many different types of um, services and masses and, So I've kind of been bouncing around, experimenting a bit, checking out other communities, if you will. So what is soft faith? So I picked the name soft faith because I realized there's a lot of a lot of people out there in the world that I love your confidence, but sometimes they tend to force Christianity on people and it tends to scare people away. So one thing that I want to kind of go into more is I want to kind of slow things down and, take every bit of a verse or whatever a topic like step by step. And also there's some topics in Christianity that aren't very fun to talk about, if you will. So I kind of want to soften, see, connections. Um, I kind of want to soften things around and kind of, hey, it's okay. We're gonna learn about this. We're gonna figure out how we can apply this to our lives. Yeah. And so also another part of why I started this podcast was because I know a lot of people that are um, like I want to grow in my faith more, or I want to look into Christianity more, but I don't know where to start. And I think it's pretty valuable to do something like this podcast because knowing my knowledge of things about Christianity, it can be useful to people that don't know where to start. And I think you know, taking a simple approach is a really good idea. So, welcome. Welcome to Soft Faith. A couple things I want to note. I use this Bible. I'll probably be using this throughout the podcast. I don't think I'm planning on changing it. This is an ESV version, which is English Standard Version. I think it's a pretty easy version to read, and it's specifically a study Bible. So there's little introduction pages before every chapter which talk about the themes of the chapter and what's really going on in the chapter, a little background of who wrote it and whatever. And there's also little oh, I literally just opened this. That's crazy. There's maps. I don't know if you can see that, but there's little maps of what locations are taking place in the Bible and whatever. And little did you knows, footnotes. So I really recommend if you don't have a Bible, um, we'll start there. Get a Bible, get yourself a nice Bible. I like it pink because I like pink and pink is a very nice color, so get a fun Bible. I know some people decorate it, but I think I'm gonna just keep her like this. I got tabs to help me find chapters better and books. I mean, not chapters, books. Um, and I have a computer up here for little notes so I don't forget. Because here's one thing about me: I forget a lot. I'm very bad at remembering things. So, and I tend to go on very many tangents. So try to just stay on course. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the area. um and the structure of these episodes are kind of gonna go into not only just reading the verses but also translating them and figuring out thinking outside of the box of what this is really saying. um and I'm also going to be mentioning a bunch of well, I guess not a bunch, but like I'll be mentioning some like personal instances that I've like ran into throughout my life that could probably like help or relate to a situation that we're talking about. And not only my instances, but also like I'll be talking about general like real life struggles that a lot of people probably go through. And some topics, like the topics that we're going to talk about, are literally everyday topics. So it's like a lot of I'm trying to think. So like friendships, struggles with like certain obstacles, or like, you hit a wall, where do I go with this? Or like maybe just like simple virtues like patience and compassion. So just like everyday topics, like nothing, like things that you can apply to your life basically. Um I'll also put in a kind of like a listener Q&A. And I have a Google form in the bio of this video of the podcast, where you can, you know, fill out a form of like some questions that you might have that I could explore in the next episode. Or if you don't have questions, maybe you have like a topic idea you want me to go over, um, we'll more than happily be doing that. So yeah, that's that. And I'll be ending every episode with like a practical takeaway, like how can you apply this to your life? What can you do to start working towards that goal? And also like ending with a prayer, and starting the episode with a prayer, of course, but like ending with a prayer. And I'll be releasing every Monday. And these episodes would probably be like, 15, 20 minutes long max. I don't want to make these episodes too long, because, it's like just like a short little pick me up for the start of your week. So, yeah, that's basically the structure of how these episodes are going to go. And some like hopes and outcomes that I have for you guys is that you find these podcasts as like a nice little, like I said, like a start to your week, or like just like if you need to go back to episodes, just like a break for your day, or like, kind of like a pick me up. And like it's like this is a safe space to, you know, I guess like solve your problems. I don't know. But like basically I want this to be like a very like personal connection, and like help you, just find where you are with God and like strengthen that relationship. Um and because like honestly, like I've been there too, where I was just like, I don't know where I'm going with, like I just feel like a mess, and I don't know where to go with my faith. And I think like I've messed up, or like, you know, I'm like stuck basically. So, with that being said, I want to go into my first little mini message, involving Psalm 73, verse 26. And I'll read it to you because not everybody has a Bible yet, but if you do, take them out. But I have it highlighted in here. Oh, that's another thing I want to mention. If you wanna, I don't annotate in my Bible, but I do highlight sometimes, and I use gel highlighters so they don't like bleed through the pages, because the pages are really thin. So get you some gel highlighters too. All right, 26. Okay, so the verse says, "My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." So I really like this verse, and I think it's a great verse to start this episode off with. Um, because it talks about, in the first bit, it says, "My flesh and my heart may fail." And that's kind of like what I felt at actually a couple points in my life, because I was like, you don't, you'll run into them a lot, but you have to learn how to pick yourself up from these moments. So, knowing that, acknowledging is the first step. Like knowing that you aren't in a good spot is the first step to like improvement. And not only just knowing that you're not in a good spot, but also knowing that God is gonna help you, you're already off to a great start. Um, because he's, you know, it's like the desire to grow is already like evidence that God is working in you. Um, and it's kind of like, I'll be honest, that's kind of what I felt when I started this podcast because I randomly just got an idea. I was like, ooh, I want to start a podcast, but I don't know why. But, it was kind of like, I was like, I don't really know how to grow with my faith because here's personal instance number one. So when I started my semester, because I'm a first year, um, I started my semester pretty good. I was like, I'm gonna, incorporate time in my day to read the Bible and like take notes and whatever. But eventually, like, I haven't been, and I like towards like the end of November, I was like, I need to fix this because I can't keep going through college without you know, relying on the word or like praying, I gotta keep that consistency. So, like I said, in short, the desire to grow is already evidence that God is working in you. And I think that's a pretty good verse for you guys to save in your Bible or, take notes on. Um, but yeah, I want to keep this short and sweet. So, a little takeaway for you: talk to God. You know, that's what I always say. Just pray, 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 because that's kind of one of your main communications with God. If you don't pray, if you don't talk, you're not gonna get anywhere. Just like any other relationship you have on earth here, you got to do the same thing with God. You know, yes, He knows what you're feeling, but you also like don't be afraid to ask Him for help because He's there. He's always there for you. No matter where you are, even when you feel like He's not there, He's kind of like there working in the background. If that makes sense. So always talk to God, even if it's like just one sentence, even if it's just like, "Hey, help me, I need help." Um, you know, I think that's like my advice for you guys starting this podcast. And yeah, like I said, this podcast is a place that you can always come back to. And I want this to be a reminder of God's love. And I want this to be like an example of like how God will always look after for you. And, that there's always somebody that like, what's the word? There's always like you can always talk like grow in his faith through some way, and I feel like this would be one of a really good way for you to grow. So yeah, and like I said, there's also the form if you guys want to fill out. Feel free to. And yeah, I think that concludes it for me. See you next week.